Uh, Miguel, are you here?
Sorry, I couldn't find the mic
Okay,
button. But yeah, I'm here.
okay, great. So, with your permission, I'm just going to start.
Go for it. Yep.
I hope everybody sees my screen, right? So, if then I'm going to start. So, hello and welcome everyone. I'm Ilgar Zarbaliev, the host of today's session and organizer of the Azerbaijan Power BI and Microsoft Fabric community. Tonight, we are diving into self-service data preparation inside Microsoft Data Factory, now part of Microsoft Fabric. And this session is packed with everything Data Factory in Microsoft Fabric currently offers, from pipelines to copy jobs to data flows. And you'll see what's already available and get a sneak peek into what's coming later this calendar year. All of this in one compact but insightful session. And you can always follow updates or rewatch this session by checking our meetup page shown here. And we are honored to welcome a very special guest, Miguel Angel Escobar. Miguel is a senior product manager at Microsoft, working on none other than Power Query, the product that changed his career path. I hope he will be giving the necessary info about himself in next minutes. He's a former Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, MCT, MCP, and a published author on data prep and analytics. And a little bit info about one book that is called Master Your Data with Power Query in Excel and Power BI. This book has been written by Miguel Escobar and Campos, and I'm very happy that I had an opportunity to translate this book into Azerbaijan language. And in next minutes, I will be sharing the link where you can get these books Azerbaijani, version. The learning doesn't stop here. We have got more speakers lined up. Miguel Myers and Ivone Shrivo Chaves Rios. And this year, I'm inviting only Microsoft employees, full-time employees, to deliver speech on behalf of Azerbaijan Power BI Meetup group. So make sure you stay connected via our Meetup group so you don't miss these upcoming sessions. Just a few reminders before we dive in. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, or during the session, you can type your questions. And this session is being recorded and will be shared with all participants. With recording, I mean it's live streaming on YouTube. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat during the talk, as I mentioned earlier, and we'll make sure they are addressed. And again, stay connected via our Meetup page for future events and resources. A little bit about our session schedule. The first part is introduction that I'm doing right now. And after my introduction, Miguel will take the stage. He will go on with his presentation and demos. And at the end of this session, we'll have a Q&A. So stay connected if you want, if you have any question, comment, or want to be speaker in next upcoming sessions. So please be so kind to contact with myself via this email address. Now, I would like to deliver stage to Miguel. So let me say stop sharing. Miguel, stage is yours. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, my name is Miguel. Hopefully you can hear me and then things are working. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, yes, I see your screen. We see your screen and we hear you well. Thank you. Go on,
Awesome.
please.
So we're just gonna start. Again, my name is Miguel Escobar. I'm a senior program manager or senior product manager for the data integration team in Microsoft, and that's the team behind Dataflows and Power Query. So I'm just gonna jump right into it because we do have a packed agenda. We're gonna talk about Data Factory and we're gonna talk about capabilities that we have in Data Factory, all around the concept of transformation. So let's go with that. So first thing first. So what is Fabric? Fabric is a Microsoft offering, and it's the unified data platform for AI transformation. Within Fabric, you might actually realize that you have Power BI. But besides Power BI, we also have something called Data Factory. And what is Data Factory? So Data Factory is effectively if you combine the best of Azure Data Factory and you combine it with the best of the self-service data prep experience in Power BI, which is Power Query. Once you combine those two, you get Data Factory in Microsoft Fabric, which is an integrated SaaS platform. You don't have to deal with any code or any code tools. It has Copilot and AI-powered source, and it's also open source. And we're going to be talking more about what is Data Factory and how you can leverage it for data transformation scenarios. So this is, in principle, what we offer. We offer connectivity for pretty much any data source that you can think of, almost. Then we offer data movement, orchestration, and transformation items or basically tools that can help you. And then you can actually load that data or when it comes down to deployment and observability, you have other tools that can actually help you with that as part of the data factory experience. And all of that is on top of what we call One Lake in Microsoft Fabric. So this One Lake is the one that actually powers it all. So if we go into what are the components or what are the items that we have inside of Data Factory, we have quite a few. We have pipeline, we have Dataflow Gen 2, we also have Mirror Database, Copy Job, Apache Airflow, and Azure Data Factory. Each of them have their own capabilities and their own limitations in some cases. But today we're going to focus primarily on the preparation aspect of things. And for the most part, if you want to prep, clean, and transform data, you're probably going to go with Dataflow Gen 2 in Data Factory. So let's talk about what is really Data Factory, Dataflow Gen 2. And again, it follows the same pattern where you basically can connect to any data, then you can transform it, and then you can just load it however you want. So when it comes down to connectivity, um, we have over 170 data sources from major platforms to really niche ones. When it comes down to connecting to anything that you think in Azure, on Google, Amazon, Snowflake, even Databricks, we have them. You can also create your own custom connectors, and we're going to be able to load custom connectors in the near future inside of Dataflow. You can also have a hybrid connectivity mode where you can have data that it's on premise. It can actually be on the cloud, or it can be behind a BNet gateway. So regardless of where your data is at, we have a solution so you can connect to it. Now, when it comes down to the transformation aspect, and this is the core one that you might actually choose Dataflow Gen 2, and it's really because of the data preparation aspect or transformations that you can perform and how easy it is to actually perform those operations. That is mainly because of the Power Creator, this user interface where you can just point and click and it will just do it. So it's easy to use, no code. It does include smart AI-based data prep, has more than 300 transformations. And now this is really the key value when you compare Dataflow Gen 2 against its predecessor, Dataflow Gen 1, is that you can explicitly define where you want to load the output of your queries. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this. So let me give you a quick demo. This is going to be a video about what is Dataflow Gen 2. Let me know if you can actually hear it.
Here, let's start by creating a data flow. Users who are familiar with Power Query will appreciate the familiarity of the low-code yet customizable experience. With over 170 connectors, you can get data from many sources. As you can see here, I have already imported my two tables, my orders table and my products table from my worldwide importer SQL database. Along with the two tables I brought in, I have a customer's Excel file that I have on my file system that I would like to bring in. I am just going to drag and drop the file into my editor. Immediately, I am brought to the Connect to a New Data Source page, where I can see that my customer's file has been uploaded. Data Preview allows me to see my data before selecting the data to clean and transform. Now that I have brought in my data, I'm ready to transform data at high scale. Along with altering columns and rows, I can also merge and append queries. Let me first start by merging my customers and orders query. I can specify the queries I want to merge, along with the column I want to merge on. Now, I can see a new query with all the columns from my customers table and one column with the nested data from the orders table. Along with merging and appending queries, I can also transform the data using Group By. Group By allows me to group rows in my query based on the values in the selected column. For this example, I will group by the related titles for each customer. Now, we can see that a new transformation has been made to the query, showcasing our new output. With Dataflows, you can set your output destination to store your transformed data. In this example, I will write the results to a table in a data warehouse. Let's put in the server and connection credentials to my data warehouse. I will choose a destination target and give the table a name. I will leave the default as replace, essentially meaning that any tables with the same name will be replaced in my warehouse. I will quickly rename my data flow to Contosa Data Flow, and then I can publish it. And with that, my data...
I think that it cut off, but that's effectively the concept or the summary of what a data flow is. It's a tool that allows you to connect to multiple sources. It allows you to also just perform transformations that you deem are necessary.
Here, we have the
And then
homepage
we
of
can
Data
actually
Factory in Fabric.
load that data to
Let's start
whatever
by
it is.
creating a...
So let's go ahead and now let's go deeper into what actually makes Dataflow into a scalable transformation data preparation tool. And one of the core principles is that you can actually, within Dataflows and within the UI, you can actually enable staging. What staging enables you to do is to materialize any of those queries into the backend storage that we have for this. And every subsequent transformation that you perform on the result of that query will be done over a different compute. So it is highly scalable. And what you can actually do in these situations is that you can stage some data you may actually get from a really slow source. So once you actually load everything into staging query, everything that goes after it can actually just run smoothly. And can run as fast as possible, running on the compute engine that we provide for you, storage and compute inside of Fabric and Dataflow Gen 2. So that's one of the core scenarios as to why you might actually want to enable staging. And again, this is more about optimizing it so you can leverage the compute that Fabric actually has for you. It is one of those decisions that you can make again, but then there are other more generic scenarios. For example, let's just say that you just want to make sure that every time that you're querying some data from a source, that you can just do it in a really efficient way, perhaps with parallelization in mind. For that, we have something that is called fast copy. So what we do with this data source that you see on screen, which is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, Azure Blob Storage, Azure SQL, Fabric SQL, PostgreSQL, and others, is that we can query the data, just copy it, the data as is, with some nuances depending on what transformations are done. We can stage it, basically, and then every subsequent call that or every subsequent transformations that we have over that source will just be running using the compute engine that we have on Fabric, as well as the storage, because the data is being staged. So that's another way in which you can effortlessly just ingest terabytes of data with just this fast copy. And let's just see why fast copy can be so impactful. And we're going to look at this video that just shows you the impact in terms of time.
Hey everyone, in this demo I will be showing some tips and tricks on how you can leverage new capabilities like fast copy to make your Dataflow Gen 2 more performant. Let's take this example where a customer already has an existing Dataflow Gen 2 that is processing 22 gigabytes of data. The refresh takes almost 2 hours to complete. Let me show you how you can leverage fast copy and some query optimization techniques to improve this refresh time. First, I'll allow the use of fast copy connectors. This will leverage the powerful copy activity from pipelines to copy my data into the Fabric One lake. For my more complex data transformations, I want to leverage the Fabric compute. To leverage this, I have to stage my data first into the Fabric One lake. This is easy. All I have to do is enable staging and reference my query. Now I can start applying all my complex transformations and compute those transformations at scale. In this example, I will be reapplying the exact same step as I previously had. This will be a group by that takes a lot of compute to calculate. Lastly, since I split my query into two, I need to reapply my data destination. I am picking the same lakehouse again. All I have to do is just pick the lakehouse from the navigator, create a new table, and I'm going to use append as my update method. Then I will publish my data flow. And if you open the refresh history, you can now see that it only took 10 minutes to process the exact same 22 gigabytes of data with the exact same transformation as before. But now it does it much faster. Thank you everyone for watching this demo.
So that's the power of fast copy in front of us. Again, it's a big difference because we're ingesting or we're loading the data, staging it in a parallelized way. So there are multiple calls to those sources so we can actually extract the data with parallelization in mind instead of actually doing it sequentially, which is what you see in the first one. So that's why it takes almost 2 hours the first time. And with fast copy, it just takes 10 minutes. So we're going to go with the next one. And now we're going to be talking about that concept that I was telling you that it's quite new if you're coming from Dataflow Gen 1 to Gen 2. And it is the concept, again, of data destinations or explicit data destinations, because now you can actually pick where you want to load your data. And it's pretty simple. It's just a single entry in the UI. You have a wizard-like experience where you can navigate to exactly where you want to load the data and just load it. So that is something that we even saw before in that video. What is noteworthy about Gen 1 and Gen 2 in terms of comparison is that you also have incremental refresh in Dataflow Gen 2. And shifting and lifting a solution that you have from Gen 1 to Gen 2, in most cases, can be pretty seamless. They do use the same UI. In some scenarios, we do use the same concepts. The transformations are really the same. There are some small nuances depending on your solution. But we're going to talk more about that later and how you can actually move from Gen 1 into Gen 2. So now let's go with the next one. And this is also more examples on what you can do inside of Power Query. This is something quite powerful that you even have in Power BI Desktop and even in Power Query in Excel. And this is called by example data extraction.
By example data extraction in Power Query provides a no-code, data-first, citizen user-friendly way to extract data from unstructured sources that is unmatched in the industry. Web by example allows users to easily extract data from web pages like the one we see on the left, where a matrix-style gallery can be turned into a tabular structure including connector names, publisher, categories, and products as columns. Using Power Query, customers can simply specify a few sample values for the data outcomes that they're looking for. For example, we'll extract a connector name. With just a couple of examples, Power Query will be able to apply a smart AI heuristics and extract the right data from the entire web page. In this example, we will also extract the category for each of these connectors, which can be done with just a single value, given at this point Power Query already understands the structure from this web page. Last but not least, we will also extract the list of products where each of these connectors in Power Query are available today. Once users get the desired data extracted from the web page, they can move forward with applying any other transformations out of the 300 plus supported transforms in the Power Query editor experience, leveraging a highly visual, no-code experience that invites citizen users to achieve more with their data. In this case, we will just apply a group by operation to count the number of connectors by connector category. Text by example provides similar capabilities, allowing users to extract data from semi-structured text files. In this example, a text file contains customer records in blocks of 5 lines, where the first line corresponds to the company name, followed by the contact name, title, and contact details. Bringing this data into most DI tools results in a single column import, which would be tedious to reshape and clean up by hand. With add table from examples, Power Query allows users to focus on the desired data outcomes and leave the complexity of data transformations to our AI logic. With just a couple of examples from the first 2 columns, Power Query is able to infer the right repetition pattern and extract the rest of the customer records from the file. From that point on, specifying new columns such as contact title is even easier. With just one sample value, Power Query gets the job done. Notice how, after landing in the Power Query editor, customers can see the full sequence of applied transformation steps to achieve these results. These steps can be further explored or customized by users and extended with any other data transformations. Like in this case, we're going to derive a new column based upon the contact name and title from this table using column by examples to generate a very particular format: last name uppercase, comma, first name, and title in parentheses. It's just that easy to transform data using Power Query. And with highly visual capabilities, such as data profiling, users can immediately get a sense for the value distributions of their data. Users can leverage data profiles to understand value distributions on their data, address any quality issues such as missing or duplicated values, or simply exclude specific data values as needed for their scenario. In this case, we will just exclude any customers that have a contact title of owner.
Yeah, so those are the experiences that you have around providing examples. This is add column, for example, table from example that you have from text, as well as table from example when the source is a web source. And now we're going to talk about Copilot. Copilot and AI in general is something that it's really something that we're driving forward in everything in Microsoft and everything that we do. And Data Factory in general is not something that's excluded from that. Instead, we are really providing experiences that are pretty natural to you and that you can actually just leverage right away and get the correct responses. So since April 30th, we had the ability for all Fabric licenses, non-trial ones, to use Copilot on F2 and more, that is. Customers on F2 and more will be able to access Copilot in Fabric, data agents, and AI functions. Now that we have that and that we have more access to things that can leverage Copilot or more customers, we're trying to actually productize this a little bit more. So at the moment, or what we initially released in Dataflows Gen 2, was a simple chat window that you see on the right. You can actually interact with the chat with Copilot. And it will give you responses based on the context that you were selecting. So if you're selecting a query and you're asking here, hey, why don't you tell me more about this query? Help me summarize it, or help me understand what's actually happening at that particular step. It can actually give you that. And we're trying to actually enable something a little bit deeper inside of the experience, which we're going to be tackling later. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about, let's see a video from two friends where they showcase what is it all about with Copilot inside of Dataflows Gen 2 and how you can interact with that chat and what you can actually expect with that chat window.
Yo!
What's up? I'm Adam.
I'm Alex.
And Alex is joining us again. You spent some time with Patrick going through, like, what can you do without Copilot? But look, I'm the pilot. And so show me what Copilot can do that I can't.
Well, Adam, then let's go ahead and start out in the modern Power Query editor here.
Yo! What's up? I'm Adam.
I'm Alex.
And Alex is joining us again. You spent some time with Patrick going through, like, what can you do without Copilot? But look, I'm the pilot. And so show me what Copilot can do that I can't.
Well, Adam, then let's go ahead and start out in the modern Power Query editor here. Absolutely love it, especially in the Home tab here. We now notice in the far right-hand side, we've got that amazing Copilot button. So let's go ahead and open this up now. And I'm going to type in one of my favorite prompts here. I'm just going to go ahead and say, just only keep the customers when the country is equal to the USA. Let's go ahead and hit submit.
It's like I'm having a conversation with my data.
Bananas. Let us know in the comments what you think about today's video. That was incredible.
No, there's got to be more, Alex. There's got to be more.
So you're a little skeptical is what I'm hearing. You're saying, you know, I saw that you applied a filter. I could have clicked the button. Anyone could have done that.
Patrick could have done that.
Hashtag Patrick could have done that.
Yeah.
Since you're a little skeptical, let's try and do the count total number of customers by the state and kind of only keep the top 3 by the largest size. Submitting this now, letting Copilot kind of think about it. So Adam, last time we just did one step at a time, but this time we actually chained multiple together. That would have taken us 1 button spinny wheel, 2 button spinny wheel, 3 button spinny wheel.
But there's got to be more.
All right, so still a little skeptical here. You're like,
I need more.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the creativity of Copilot. I've noticed the Guy in a Cube videos, they're just getting a little stale here. So I'm going to ask it for a little bit of help. Maybe titles inspired by Star Wars. Let's see what we can do as maybe a title for this video.
Ooh, I like this.
Awesome. So we've got Power BI, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back with Dax, Phantom of the Data Menace. Oh, that one's pretty good.
The force is strong with Copilot. I will give it that. Is that it, or like is that the power of Copilot?
All right. So you've seen us do some simple stuff, some chained activities. Now a little bit of creativity. Like let's really combine all this stuff together. Adam, we always get called in to looking at people's data models. We're always like, where's your date table? Where's your date table? Wouldn't it be great if we just asked Copilot to build that for us? So in this example, we're going to ask it to go ahead and just create a new calendar table starting from 2017 to the current date. Just include like tons of columns to slice and dice our data by. That was crazy. Look how long the scroll bar is, top to bottom.
Look at all those steps.
Oh my gosh.
Bring up the M script on that.
Wow.
Oh. Now we're at Chris Webb's level. That's a lot.
That is a lot. We did the simple stuff. We did the complex stuff. We did some creative stuff. And we did something like this where a difficult problem that a lot of people have kind of stated, like, go build calendars, go do this.
Yeah.
Throw it into Copilot, let it do 50 plus steps. Adam, I do have one more trick though on this one, if you don't mind.
All right, let's see.
All right. It's not only added the steps for us, but I'd like to have a little bit more information about, okay, what were you actually doing here? So I'm just ask Copilot to kind of describe the query itself. Awesome. So here Copilot has now written all these descriptions. I'm going to go to the very top here. So Adam, it says the query generates a comprehensive date table from January 1st to the current date. Yes, that's exactly what I was kind of looking for. It goes through and describes each line by line step here.
This is nice because now I've just got to copy and paste it, and then I've got my documentation, right?
I mean, that would be pretty good, but I think we can do much better, right?
Okay.
So if we actually go to the bottom of the description here, we have this add to query where it says, I'll go and inject the descriptions for you. It says, hey, I noticed you had a few descriptions already. Is it okay to overwrite? Absolutely. Let's go and do that. These are much better. Top to bottom. All of these have now been described. If we hover above the query, also the query level description has been added.
Added bananas. All right. Everyone should be doing that. Well, I mean, is there anything else Copilot can do? I mean, this is a lot.
So we've seen a lot here. Let's go back to the very beginning because I know you were a little skeptical here at the top. So I'm going to go into my query. We're going to just go back to kind of that early example, right? Especially if you're a new or inexperienced user, Adam, you've never seen Power Query before. It's got all these amazing buttons. You're just like, well, which ones do I press? But you know the problem you want to solve, right? So we're going to ask it to just go and only keep married customers. Very simple. And again, we see on the card, it has the icon here for the filter rows. If we were to hover above this now, obviously we can see, all right, I'm starting to learn the UI as I go. We didn't give it precisely which column to use or even that there was a key here. So marital status M equals married, S equals single. Yep. Copilot was able to figure that out.
You may need to validate that, right? Because it may not get it just right. But in this case, it got it spot on.
And of course, If there's an error, you can undo it here on the card. You can delete it from the applied steps list. Let's go and try it, kind of another one here as well. Maybe creating new columns by the login, kind of a username and company. If we go to the right-hand side, it added 2 new columns, username and company, just kind of based upon like the original column here. So if we were to go back, email address. Well, I would need to know what a split by is. I would need to know what a delimiter is. I would need to know what the @ symbol is. But in this example, again, I knew my problem. Copilot figured it out for me. Yeah. All right, so let's try another one here then. I'm going to do a little bit more complex. Keep the rows where the education is bachelor's, occupation is professional, and the title is Mrs. So I think about this, Adam, whenever you, me, are kind of chatting on Teams, or you forward me an email and saying, I'm way too busy. Just go do all these things for me on the list, right? Just copying and pasting.
It's a lot of steps.
Huge. A new filter rows. But most importantly, Adam, if we click on this settings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It just saved us 11 clicks.
I'm going to say Copilot is the new click tax remover.
Oh, I love it. So I love these examples again where you have to think, is it the and or the or condition? You have to go through each field well and find the right column. It's making me more productive, even as a professional user, to be like, is that something I want to fuss with, or can I just outsource it to Copilot? I'm going to go to this query here now. You know, we always see like a lot of these just very horizontal laid out tables where it's like, oh my gosh, is it the pivot? Is it the unpivot? You have to do it once or twice until you kind of only remember the one. But wouldn't it be better if we just ask Copilot here to just do multiple steps here? So turning rows into kind of columns, casting data types, and also just ensuring that it's also like a ascending order here at the very end. Awesome. So Adam, once again, I was able to figure this out. We chained multiple prompts together. More importantly, though, we were a little bit of chaos because we used a numbered list, we used a dash, and then we kind of gave it these mixed words like DSC, which only makes sense if you're kind of a SQL background.
So it can handle the chaos that is Alex. That's good to know.
Yes.
That's good to know.
So let's go ahead and do another one here then. I'm going to go to my product table. And a lot of these tables, Adam, I look at in models, they just bring in every column and they kind of say, hey, we'll clean it up after the fact.
The business said they needed all of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I only need this one column product key. Instead of like scanning left and right and hoping I got them all, I'm just going to ask Copilot, just only keep the product key in my table, but dynamically remove every other column as a suffix of key, ID, or label. Okay. Let's go ahead and submit that.
Oh, I like that.
So it's not just the data that we're kind of using Copilot with, but it could also be the schema.
You know, when Patrick and I would do demos before, and it was like, oh, I got to remove all the keys and I got to go through each one. And there's a bunch of them on the fact table. So I'm like, this is nice.
So in this example, choose columns. It wrote this dynamic formula now for us. So it has the ends with key, ID, or label. So now in the future, if any new columns get added to the table, we don't have to worry about them. We are only keeping the actual columns that we want.
Nice.
Last one. Whenever we were connecting out to the databases, I always see these capitalized names. Everyone's always yelling at us, capital store _ key. And I don't get any joy from this activity, Adam. I don't, log off for the day and tell the spouse and family that I renamed 200 columns. You should have seen me, right? Like, this is the perfect job for a Copilot.
What did you do
let's ask it to change all the column names to be more readable using proper case and removing any underscores. So we're going to submit this now. We saw in the last example where Copilot was able to kind of move some columns and drop them. We're going to ask it to just do a complete custom function here now for us where it renamed every single column in our table to be more readable.
I think you convinced me. Copilot can do a lot of cool things for me. It's not that it's replacing what I do, but it's making me go faster so I can move on to the things that really are meaningful.
So that's big for me, is just the inexperienced user using it to learn Power Query, and then the advanced users being, okay, how can I be even faster in my development time? Like that big calendar table with that massive advanced editor screen. Yeah. That would have taken us hours to write, even as a professional.
Not that we're lazy, we're just efficient. Let us know down in the comments if you have any questions for Alex or myself on Copilot.
You are muted. Sorry, you are muted.
Thank you. But yeah, I was just saying that was just Copilot. This was just the first iteration of Copilot. And what we're going to be showing later is the latest features that we've actually shipped. One of them is Copilot to support creation of custom columns using just native language. But yeah, so in the past few months, we have shipped public APIs for Dataflow Gen 2. We have parameterized data flows. We have SharePoint as a new destination for Dataflow Gen 2 again. And we have more to show. So let's go ahead and just jump into those enhancements and those new capabilities that we have in Dataflow Gen 2 and why that's one of the best solutions that we can actually have right now for data preparation. So let's go.
Here we are in our Contoso Outdoors workspace, where we have a task flow set up to prep, transform, orchestrate, and visualize data. Let's start by creating a new data flow. And right away you'll notice something new. This workspace is integrated with folders, making it easier to organize and navigate data factory items. Source control is also enabled, and we'll see that in action shortly. Let's click New and create a Dataflows Gen 2 item. Right away, we can see that this data flow will have Git integration enabled and support parameterized invocation via public APIs. Let's give it a name and hit Create. Now, inside the Dataflows editor, we've introduced a few enhancements to improve the transformation experience. First, a streamlined toolbar. We've reduced it to a single line for a cleaner, more focused workspace. If you prefer the previous view, you can always toggle the ribbon back. Second, a Save As button, one of the top requests from our community. You can now save a data flow with automatically publishing or refreshing the data behind the scenes. And third, multitasking support. You can now open multiple items at the same time. When I open an item, a tab is pinned to the left navigation bar, so I can switch between my workspace and other resources, like querying my Contoso Outdoors SQL database, without losing my place. So let's skip ahead, and you'll see that we've already brought in some tables and applied transformations. Now let's save our data flow to the workspace. Since Git integration is enabled, we can see the newly created data flow is marked as uncommitted. By clicking Source Control, we can view what's changed, add a commit message, and hit Commit. Within seconds, our changes are committed and everything is up to date. If I navigate to my DevOps environment, you'll see individualized folders for each of the items. If I navigate to the new data flow that I just created and synced, you'll see all the relevant mashup and metadata files here. Now that I've synced our data, we have the option to refresh it directly from here. But now we've integrated the new schedule experience. Just like pipelines, I can now schedule to run this data flow every few minutes, every hour, daily, etc. And I could give it granular controls like the frequency of refreshes and start and end times as well, all integrated in a unified experience. The last feature I want to show you is how we can enable users to easily save an existing Dataflows Gen 1 as a Gen 2 native data flow. We have a new Save As experience that enables easy migration all with just a couple of clicks. All I have to do is go to my Dataflow Gen 1 that I have in my workspace, and then I'll see an option called Save As Dataflow Gen 2. You can optionally provide it a name, and then we'll hit Create. Soon you'll see a new Dataflow Gen 2 native item created based on the copy of the queries from the Gen 1 data flow. Returning to the workspace, we can now see two data flows, the original Gen 1 data flow and the new Gen 2 data flow.
Awesome. So that is the new CI/CD experience, or how you can actually create the new type of data flows, the Dataflow Gen 2 with CI/CD supports. And what we're going to be seeing now is something that was probably one of the most requested features for quite a while, and that is how you can pass parameters to a data flow execution, and how you can pass them from a pipeline. So these are metadata-driven pipelines in Data Factory.
This is a metadata-driven pipeline that seamlessly moves my product's order data through the medallion architecture in OneLake at petabyte scale. A common challenge in data processing is dynamically handling different inputs, and I can use parameterization to make my workflows fully flexible. I've created a parameter in my pipeline that references my SQL database connection. And going into my copy activity, I can create a dynamic connection that references that same parameter. No more static connections, and I can parameterize them effortlessly. If I open the expression builder, I can simply select my predefined parameter, and just like that, my connections are dynamic and easily configurable. Next, I've integrated a data flow activity to handle transformations. Let's open it up and see how parameterization makes it even more powerful. In this data flow, I'm transforming products orders data by grouping orders by region. My goal is to create a table in OneLake for each region. Instead of hard-coding regions, I can make this dynamic using parameters. I've defined a region parameter which dynamically filters data by the region. The default value is Eastern, so my query currently filters for Eastern orders. When I use this parameter in my orders by region query, the filter icon indicates that the query dynamically adjusts based on the input. Since my destination is a SQL database, region-specific tables automatically appear there. Let's hit Save and see how we can leverage this new parameter from within a pipeline. If I go back to my pipeline and configure my data flow activity, I can see that after selecting my data flow, I have a new section to input the parameters. Here, I can input my region parameter and I'll use the expression builder to give it a parameterized value from the get metadata activity. Inside my for each loop, this pipeline will iterate over each region dynamically, processing orders from eastern, northern, southern, and western regions. Skipping ahead, you can see my pipeline has run successfully. Checking the output, we can see that each region's data was processed separately. First activity, the region is eastern, second is southern, and another one is northern. If I head to my database, I'll see 4 separate tables corresponding to products orders for each region for my tables.
Awesome. And this is something that we just delivered a few months ago, still in product preview, but we have a lot more to show. I think that we're running, I'll be short on time, so I'm just going to be showing one more demo, and this is going to be the demo that I was talking about around how you can use native language with Copilot to create custom columns.
I'm in a bit of a situation. I was tasked with something that is a little bit complex. This is a complicated logic that relies on the data that I have in this table. So this table has order ID, has a quantity column, category, and then the total. I'm tasked with creating a new column that can actually implement a discount based on the quantity, category, and the total. So how can I do that? So I have a couple of ways inside of Power Query. I can go here and add column, and perhaps I can also use something called conditional column. So I could potentially leverage this, but what happens is that this may be a limited experience for this specific scenario, which is a bit complex, which requires n and other operators that I need. I can take the custom column approach and I can write my own custom formula, but if I'm new, I'm not the best when it comes down to the Power Query formula language, then perhaps I'm not going to be able to. However, I now have a new entry point in this custom column, which is a Copilot feature. This is what we call natural language to custom column. So what you can do is just go into this input box, just type whatever that logic is, and it is a little bit complex. So it's going to start with, if the total order is more than 2,000 and the category is B, then provide a discount of 10%. If the total is more than 200 and the category is A, then provide a discount of 25%, but only if the quantity is more than 10. Otherwise, just provide a 10% discount. So this is quite complex. And if I send this to Copilot to create the custom formula for me, it's going to do it. So let's go ahead and give it a try and see what it actually creates. So it actually not only created the custom formula, but it also added the column name and the correct data type that I need. So looking at this here, yes. So total is higher than 2,000 and category B. Sure. Then total times 0.9, so there's a 10% discount. Else if total is higher than 200 and category is equals to A, there's more formula that perhaps I'm not really too sure about what it actually does. And the reality is that perhaps I don't even need to. I can just go into my preview and see if the results actually make sense to me. Yes, they do make sense to me. I verified this beforehand. This is more of a cooking show. But yeah, so this actually makes sense to me. But let's go ahead and actually figure out what this is actually doing, because we also have another feature. I can right click this query and I can have this new entry point that I have here called explain this query. So if I click on that, it's going to open up the Copilot window and it's going to try to explain what this query does. So this is quite a simple query, but we have a source step, we create a table from my compressed JSON entity, change column, and then we have this add a custom, which actually added the column with conditional logic for discounts based on total and category values. Now this is quite similar to what I had before. If I just open Copilot and I click on describe this query and send this, it will give me the same response. It's just that it's closer to me because I can right click the query and get this. Of course, I can run this with more complex queries and it will give me an explanation as to what the actual query does.
Most they made the same mistake, but now it's unmuted. I think that we have time for one more, and this is another one of those really highly requested features, how you can actually load the data or sync the data to SharePoint. Now you can actually do so with the new output destination to SharePoint as CSV files. So let's go over that and see how you can do it.
Let's see how we can set the default data destination for a data flow to SharePoint. Here in my data flow, I can either select default data destination from the ribbon or configure it directly in my query. After selecting the icon, SharePoint now appears as an option alongside our other destinations. I'll click into it, provide the SharePoint site URL, authenticate the connection, and proceed. The file name is automatically set, and on the left, you'll see all the available folders to store my data. I'll select my sales folder, hit next, and keep the default column mapping. And just like that, my default destination is now set to SharePoint. I can confirm this in my query and at the bottom right-hand side. Now, let's hit save and run. And after a few seconds, I can navigate to my SharePoint folder where my data has successfully landed. Adding SharePoint as a default destination opens up even more possibilities for further analysis and reporting.
Awesome. And I think that the last slide that I wanted to show is around upgrade pathways. If you have an existing solution, how you can actually move that solution to be on Dataflow Gen 2. And we have those solutions for you. So if you have, for example, a Dataflow Gen 1 and you would like to move it to a Dataflow Gen 2, this is a comparison table that we have for you on what we do support and how you can actually move to it or what things you need to consider. The biggest things to consider that we don't have in Dataflow Gen 2 are the functionality of the feature to attach to common data model folder, and the other one is link tables. We do have other ways in which you can actually leverage sort of that approach, but it's not exactly the same as to the one that we have in Gen 1. And the other ones are the save as functionality. We also have Power Query templates, which you can export in Dataflow Gen 1 or in other host or product integrations, and you can import them into Dataflow Gen 2. And you can also just create a new data flow and copy paste the queries that you have, whatever. It could be in Power BI Desktop, in Excel, or on other tools, and you just copy and paste them into Dataflow Gen 2. So I'm just going to take a pause here. I know that we have some questions. So Ilgar, I'm going to go back to you. Which
Yes.
questions would you go?
Yeah, actually, before every session, I'm sending some forms to our, registered people to get their questions. So here, I've got three questions. The first one is about, says that how does Data Factory ensure data quality during data preparation? This is the first question I got.
Okay. So how does Data Factory ensure data quality during data loading and data preparation, or in which stage specifically?
Actually, that was the form that I got the question. So I shared here.
I think that it depends. So if your data, it really depends on in which context, because if your data requires any sort of manipulation to be cleaned up, perhaps that's something that you potentially do with data flows, but you still need to have that logic as to what is it that you're trying to clean up, or what sort of quality context you're looking for. So I will go back to the person that raised this question just to understand a little bit more about what sort of task are they referring to when it comes to data quality.
Okay, thank you. The second question is about the difference between data flows. So how do data flows in Microsoft Fabric differ from Power BI data flows? I hope it's talking about data flows Gen 1
1.
and Gen 2, right?
Yeah, and this one goes to this specific slide that we have, hoping that you can see it. But this is the comparison table. We do have other articles that go a little bit deeper into this, but for the most part, it is, you could potentially reuse the same solution that you have in Gen 1 into Gen 2. The only caveats are related to, again, link tables, and when you're using a common data model folder, when you attach that. Those are the only two ones. But that's
I
about it.
have sorry, I have one question. Maybe this is not related to today's subject, but it's related to Power Query. So will Copilot be available in the standard Power Query experience in Excel?
That's something that we'll need to check with the Excel team. My understanding is that they are working, Excel as a whole is working into new Copilot capabilities, and there might be a place for Copilot to actually be integrated or have a skill that is related to Power Query. But yeah, it's something that we'll need to check with the Excel team.
I'm using a Copilot in Excel. Also, I'm a Copilot using Python in Excel. But unfortunately, I didn't find anything directly. I mean that for example, I can make the names of columns in uppercase, right? But I would like to do it with a Copilot. But unfortunately, I didn't find this feature, so that I asked. So thank you. Please go on.
Is there any other questions?
There is one more question, but I wanted to ask a little bit later. But if you want, I can ask this one also. So it says that what transformations are available within self-service data flows?
So it's pretty much the same ones that you see in Excel and the same ones that you see in Power BI Desktop. Um, we try to keep it consistent so that the functions or transformations that you use in Excel, Power BI, or even Power Platform data flows, or in every integration that we have, that they actually work throughout the whole ecosystem, you can call it that way. So it's one Power Query experience that just can be leveraged across everyone. The only caveats are, functionality that is quite specific to the product integration. So for example, when you're using Excel and you're using the current workbook, we have a function that is called excel.current workbook, which can actually just access the data within the workbook that you have open. That concept, we don't have it in any other product integration. We might have something like that in Fabric, but it will be quite specific. So for example, data destinations are something quite unique to Dataflow Gen 2 that only Dataflow Gen 2 has.
I will also ask my own question. So sorry for for this, but I'm really very interested in your answer. Imagine that in one company they are using any other, say, business intelligence tool like Alteryx, right?
Mhm.
And in my understanding, it also helps to automate some process. So this is maybe one of the reasons that people are using this program. So and in one company, that company, they were using Power BI for gathering or extracting the data. So, what I'm just trying to ask you, logically, I know the answer, but anyway, I'm going to ask this question. Is there an integration between Power Query and any other business intelligence tool? I mean, is there an opportunity to use this combination? Logically, maybe it's not a good question, but I hope.
So the best approach that we have for scenarios where you want to integrate anything into Power Query is through the Power Query SDK. So the Power Query SDK is the one that allows you to communicate with an external service. It's just that the protocols that we allow you, for that sort of integration are limited. So you can only, use a REST API or the web connector, for example. If map it to connectors, the generic connectors will be the ODBC, OLDB, um, web connector, and OData. Those are the only ones that we support today. So you could potentially, and this is just like theoretical, and this is all technically possible, but you could potentially create a connector that talks with a REST API, and based on the interactions that you do with the connector, it could trigger something. You can also have the connector where you pass a payload, and that payload then triggers something behind the scenes for your service. But again, those are really niche cases. Those are really, it's just, we're just really just talking technically what is possible and what's feasible. In the real world, the way that you can actually see this is more around how, for example, something like Databricks integrates with Power Query, and how we have a Databricks connector. How, for example, Google and some of their solutions, they have their own connector inside of Power Query, and how that behaves. Um, but something where we ship Power Query inside of other products, that's not in another company product. That's not something that we have installed at the moment.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I see the screen that shows us the difference between data flows. Okay, perfect.
Yep. Any other questions that we should talk about?
Not so far, so you may go on.
I think that the last things that I wanted to showcase were the roadmap that we have for Dataflow Gen 2 and what we're really working on and trying to deliver pretty soon. And again, one of the latest ones that we deliver was having SharePoint as a new destination. Right now, we're only working on delivering the CSV, or we deliver the CSV, and now we're working on perhaps we can save the data as a different format. So maybe an Excel file. Maybe we can actually sync the data or load the data to OneDrive. Maybe AWS Gen 2, now that we can actually support files. Previously, we only supported loading data as tables. There's also parameterization support, so you can actually parameterize things in the UI when it comes to data destinations. Modern get data enhancements so that we can have Copilot support to get data, a new browse SharePoint UX, which is the most requested feature that we have in the Fabric Ideas portal. Having a new entry for something that we call recents or recent sources and tables and queries. We're going to be adding support for Fabric workspace variables pretty soon. Parallelized execution, design time sampling, really a lot more. That's just going to come in the next few months. But yeah, that's about it. That is the last slide of the presentation. But yeah, open to any questions, anything that anyone wants to add.
Yeah. Of course, if anybody has any question, please, you can turn on your camera and ask the question. But while you are thinking, I would like to ask one more question to you, Miguel. Actually, in my previous work, I was dealing with two real projects. We were preparing reports on behalf of companies, and we were using, of course, Power BI. But in some cases, Power BI, is not enough to extract all the data. Let's imagine that the data is stored in any ERP system, for example, in Dynamics 365, right? So if there is a huge volume of data, after some time, it says that you see a timeout error message, so something like this. And data engineers, our data engineers, they were always raising some, say, like um, databases in SQL, and plus we were getting data from SQL or something like this. But actually, I'm not good at data engineering issues. But so my question is there any practical way to solve this issue? Just you have Power BI and you have Power Query, for example. You can extract data, not depending on the volume of data. So is there any best practice? So so
I think that
yeah.
when you start getting into those situations, you do have to see it as a data engineer. So you have to understand what is the throughput that I have on my source. What are the limitations? If I can only send 10 rows per minute, perhaps I should create a solution or an architecture in which, I can take advantage of that. Maybe not even something like incremental refresh will be a good solution. Perhaps I could potentially start thinking about something else. We have in Data Factory something called data mirroring, which is basically just creating a replica of your data, and it does so in a more efficient manner. And once you actually have that copy or replica or mirror of your data in a lakehouse in Fabric, then you don't have that, I guess, that bottleneck of the throughput that you have on the source itself. You can actually take advantage of as much throughput as necessary. And yeah, you wouldn't be blocked in that sense. But it really depends on how you want to tackle it. There's so many options. So there's incremental refresh. There's query folding that you could potentially gather or, reduce it in a way where you can aggregate the data and just work on aggregated data. It really depends on how you want to see it.
Okay, great. Yes. One more question. Are you attending a Microsoft Fabric conference this year in Vienna, Austria?
Just in my experience, it's gonna be there, but I'm not gonna be physically there. Some members of my team will be there this year. I was actually at the FabCon in Vegas earlier this year.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but I attended MVP Summit, but I couldn't attend Las Vegas. I mean, Fabric Conference in Las Vegas. But I'm also going to attend this conference. If anybody wants to attend, there is a specific discount, so you can use this discount. Would be great to see you here. I mean, in Vienna, Miguel. And I also wanted to give your book in Azerbaijan language. Uh, but anyway, I hope I will have an opportunity to deliver this book. I think there is no question. So I would like to thank you, Miguel. I know you are a very busy person in Microsoft. You are always answering to questions. I know a lot of questions you are receiving, but you found time to share some of your knowledge and experience with us. So I would like one more. I mean, once again, thank you. So, and with your permission, if it's okay, I would like to end this session.
Sounds good. Thanks again for the invitation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. See you one time in person.
The future.
Okay.
Yeah.